Thank you. Here we are, week 3, I believe, of our meditation class. Thank you. We'll begin with sitting. Please establish your posture. Find a place where you're relaxed and alert and where you can try to avoid moving for the next 10 minutes or so. We can close our eyes or gently gaze down forward. And begin by paying attention to our body. Noticing what sensations arise in this moment. Noticing the feet. Noticing the legs. Noticing your butt, the weight sinking down. Noticing the sensations in our hands. All the points of contact where one body part meets another or meets a surface. Noticing if there are areas of tension and try to just let them sag, let them relax. The shoulders, the face. Bring our attention to the sensation of the breath. Noticing what it feels like to breathe in. And breathe out. Noticing the pause in between. This is our focus. The breath. It's always here. Right now we don't need to control our breath. Just noticing what it feels like. Maybe saying gently to ourselves, rising, falling. As we focus on the breath, we notice other things that take our attention away. Maybe other sensations in the body, an itch, a pain. Notice that, let it go, bring our attention back to the next breath. Maybe it's sensations outside the body, something we see or we hear. Oh, interesting, sounds. Yeah, okay, that's all right, let it go and come back to the breath. Maybe we notice sometimes our breath is a little deeper. And you say, oh, a deep breath. Oh, a shallower breath. Just sitting and noticing. Thoughts take our attention away from the breath, how we feel right now. Memories, plans. Notice that. Oh, thinking. How interesting. But right now, just staying with the breath. So let go of the thought and come back to the breath. Just resting in each breath. Just resting. It's so peaceful. Nothing else to do right now. Just sit and breathe. As many times as our mind wanders, we're patient with that. It's normal. It's what minds do. It's very interesting. And we're kind to ourselves and we say, okay, I'll let that go and come back to the next breath. And broaden our attention to the room around us. My yoga teacher this morning, Chris, said that there's a difference between resting and relaxing. I'm not quite sure what that is. I guess when I think about it, I think relaxing implies it's the body. Resting is the mind. I don't know how you feel about that. But if we get nothing else out of this meditation, the rest it gives us. Well, we're all here. Very good. Week 3. Thank you for being here. Bring yourselves. I so appreciate you all. Thursday evening. And to you, anybody watching out there. Anyone have anything to share about their week or questions, their meditation experience?
I guess I'll start. So I tried different positions, like laying, because I usually been sitting in this wonderful recliner next to the window. But then I tried it in the bed, and I'm thinking, no, I shouldn't be in the bed. It's got to be a whole different place. I should be. Am I right thinking that you want to keep the two? When I go to bed, I want to sleep. When I'm meditating, I want to stay awake, so I shouldn't mix the two. So I tried that, or my thought process. And so then the other thing is I tried the bolster, and it's like, I guess I wanted to keep my back straight or something, and it was really, I don't know, it was a very distracting experience. But I tried something different, so I'm glad.
That's good to experiment with that. Yes, good. Sounds like you were being mindful of your body.
Right.
Good.
Yeah.
I tried the walking, mindfulness.
Yes.
So when you're walking, it says that you should pay attention to your feet and your legs. But what about the breathing? Does that come into play, or you just focus on your feet and legs?
Both, yes. We'll work on that tonight.
Okay.
Good.
For me, I like to just, I have to go to the same position every time. Once I found what worked, then I just feel like that's the position I take, and then my body and my mind just know this is what I'm doing.
So it's always the same place.
Always, I have a place, I have a candle, it's all set up, it's a,
I'm just thinking maybe your schedule that, okay, so I'm gonna do it at this place today because that's where I've got extra time, but no, you keep us.
That's helpful.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking, was sleeping. This is where I wanna sleep, this is where I wanna, okay.
I have the same thing, I have the same place where I sit on a bolster and do my meditation, but I have experimented before this class with Yoga Nidra, which is a type of relaxation where you lay down, and that one I typically do in my bed because it's more of a rest, almost like you're taking a nap, in my opinion. So if I'm really stressed or tense and I feel like I just need to shut the world out, it's like a body scan type thing, and there's all different lengths you can do. It's on YouTube, and I pick one that sounds good and I do it, and when I get up from it I feel refreshed, like I had a nap, and calm, and so that one I do laying down, but my daily ones from the class I do sitting up. And I found this week I had a lot more thoughts, and I had a hard time trying to not judge myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I would always go back to the breath, but I was working on that.
Good.
I have a place that I like, and I've tried to vary it, but I always want to come back to that place, to this particular chair. And I can vary the time and still be in that place, because sometimes I have to vary the time or want to add a time, and, that's helpful. Have a place, that kind of is the anchor.
Did you have a chance to look at the handouts from last week? Any comments or questions on those? We had 3. One was about body scan. That was quite a long one from John Kabat-Zinn. He really gets into it. He's very good. One was about the what was it?
Easy yoga.
Oh, yoga.
Yeah, that was a
That's
good
right.
one.
The postures that we did, mindful movement. Meg, I heard you did the parting the clouds or some
I
one of those.
The Gilbert teachers loved it tonight too. Love that.
Yoga. And then there was one that has a list of resources, so, I usually give that out week 3, but you were asking about some of those, so I gave it out to you. So Kim, make sure we get that at the end of class tonight,
Sounds
okay?
good.
I really find reading from good meditation teachers really stimulates my practice. It motivates me. It gives me suggestions about my practice. So those are just a few suggestions. So in week 1, we focused on concentration on the breath, which we always do. And I keep reminding myself that this is just a practice. I mean, what's so important about focusing on the breath? Well, it gives us a point of reference that we notice when our mind goes somewhere else. Oh, we notice it because there is a kind of meditation that's sometimes called open awareness, where you have no object of concentration and you just notice whatever happens in the moment, thoughts, sensations, emotions, and you notice them and let them go and just be open, which is wonderful, but it's a little more difficult. It's really helpful to have a focus, for me, usually. And then sometimes it goes, oh, I'm not going to have a focus, I'm just going to sit here and notice what happens. So you have to be quite alert, I think, to do that. So those were, for the breath was week 1, and now in weeks 2 and 3, last week and this week, we're focusing on mindfulness of the body, which is another focus we can use. So yoga is a wonderful practice of movement where our focus is what the body doing and what it feels like. And the body scan, where we would just notice each individual part. Notice, and that's really helpful. Oh, what does my foot feel like right now? What does my knee feel like right now? And notice it. Notice whether it's pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, because every sensation, usually, I think, always, we categorize. And sometimes it may be a mixture, but we tend to judge things, and this is a judgment that's just automatic. It's not saying, oh, this is bad, that's the next level of judgment. So we notice these different sensations. And this week, so the part that of the book was about body, and I don't think she had yoga in the book, but has the body scan, and this week we're going to do walking meditation and eating meditation. As I've mentioned, every time I read the book, I relearn things, and so just to share a few things that I noticed this week about mindfulness of the body. especially helpful for us to learn to let sensations arise and subside naturally without clinging, condemning, or disconnecting. Those three conditioned responses can rob us of a good many chances for authentic happiness. So that's normal for us when something is pleasant. We want to make it last. We want it to be maybe more intense. We grab onto it. We're clinging. Or if something's unpleasant, I don't like that. I want it to go away. So we may try to say, push it away, avoid it. Or if it's kind of dull, we just kind of zone out. And noticing the body helps us notice those and then notice the add-ons, the judgments we place on there. So we learn to just accept what's happening right now because it's happening. It doesn't mean we can't change it. So if we have a pain, we may say, well, I'm going to do something about it. That's good. But there's so many times when we miss what's happening because we're either clinging to something or pushing it away. And so noticing the body is an especially good tool for building this skill of just accepting the moment as it is. And she talks a little bit about pain, which is really helpful. I think that's one of the things that it's really helpful for. Now with severe chronic pain, I'm still working on that. I don't have it very often, but or pain that lingers for weeks, but with momentary pain, let's say we're sitting and we notice that we're uncomfortable in this position, we may notice right away where it is, okay? We may say what the quality of the pain, is it sharp or is it dull? Is it stinging, is it tingling, whatever. We may notice if we stay with it that it will tend to change usually. It may get stronger and lighter, it may change in its area. It may not be constant, it may kind of come in waves where it comes and goes. And in that way, when we notice pain and just be with it and accept it, it's easier. We're happier. We're not suffering as much. The walking meditation is what I'd like to work on now. As she mentions, this is a wonderful opportunity to learn to be mindful of whatever we're doing at the moment. So we walk, and very often we're thinking about stuff while we're walking, how to get there, what's going on next, and where we came from, and yeah, well, this is a meditation where we're just focusing on walking. Now, it can be done in a number of different ways. Tonight we'll do what's sometimes called formal walking meditation, where we'll walk very slow and pay attention to each step. This is really useful to do. It can be one of your main practices. You can also do more informal walking meditation when you're walking around town or on your road, on a path. And this is a little bit more open because you're paying attention to the movements of walking, but you're also paying attention to what's going on around you. Sights, sounds, sensations. But you keep coming back to the walking, and once again, you notice, oh, I'm not paying attention to the walking, I'm not paying attention even to the leaves, I'm paying attention to what I'm gonna do next when I get there. Oh, what do you know? I'm doing that again, thinking, and say, okay, let it go, letting go, and coming back to just walking. So it's a wonderful practice. I don't think I've read that book. That Thich Nhat Hanh is wonderful with walking meditation. Doesn't he have a book that's called Mindfulness is Each Step or something like that? Mindfulness is Each Step. So this practice that I'd like you to do with me tonight, sometimes I've done it in a circle where we follow each other, but I think it's perhaps more valuable to do it as Sharon describes it, where you walk back and forth. So we'll need to find enough room to find a space where you can walk back and forth in this room. Maybe we can have to restrict ourselves to about 5 or 6 steps. I'm going to be right here and spread out and find a place where you can walk uninterruptedly on your own. Anyway, we'll just find a way where you aren't going to be bumping into each other. And if you do come close to each other, just be mindful of that. That's okay. So with this, we're going to walk quite slowly. And our focus is on the movement of our feet. And we might say to ourselves, let's say, I'm getting ready to move my right foot, and lifting, moving, planting. So saying lifting, planting, things like that are helpful. Yes, good question about the breath. So it is helpful to sometimes to link our breath with our steps. Maybe on lifting, breathe in, planting, breathe out, or with one step, breathe in, with the next step, breathe out. So you can kind of, your breath supports your attention to your stepping. So with this practice, we will take a few steps and then stop. When you come to the end of your course, turn around mindfully. Then begin again. So I'll ring the bell. I'll be giving us some cues. Any questions before we start? Obviously, we'll want our eyes open for this. And just kind of gaze down forward. So that will be a distraction. We'll notice things around us. Well, that's part of it. And just notice, oh, I'm paying attention to each step. Find a place for our hands. You can just let them hang down. You can clasp them in front of you or in back of you. Just find a place that's comfortable where you say, I'm going to just keep my hands in this position for the next 10, 15 minutes while I do this practice. Well, maybe I'll think of some more things as we go, but so we'll begin. So lifting one foot and planting it, and then lifting the next foot and planting it. You can pick your own pace, but just take one step at a time. reach the end, stop for a moment, turn around mindfully and begin again. Maybe say to yourself, lifting, planting. Notice which part of your foot strikes the floor. Notice the changes in balance. Not uncommon to lose your balance when walking so slowly. You might want to say to yourself, lifting, moving, planting. Notice each part of each step. The teacher told me, pay attention to endings, which I like to use with this. When I come to the end of a course and turn around, I stop and pay attention. Oh, what was I just thinking about? Was I thinking, how long do I have to do this? When will the timer be up? Then come back to just noticing the next step. Just walking and paying attention to walking. Not trying to get anywhere. Oh, I noticed my nose itches. Well, that's okay. let it itch, come back to the next step. Maybe notice other things going on in the body. Notice how our back feels with this. Notice what emotions come up. How do you feel about walking? Maybe you decide, oh, that itches, I'm gonna scratch it. That's okay. Maybe notice 4 different parts of each movement. Lifting, moving, balancing, planting, shifting. Lifting, moving, planting, shifting the weight. And we'll mindfully return to our seats. Comments or questions on walking meditation? Does anybody feel like they were gonna fall over?
A little bit.
Uh-huh.
But adding that balancing
Uh-huh.
aspect in the middle there,
Mm-hmm.
I think kind of made me more aware of what was going on. That is
Mhm.
helpful.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a part during that where you're out standing on one foot, aren't you, very often? Walking meditation is valuable, especially for either low energy states or high energy states. So if you're sitting, trying to sit, and you're just mind going and your body's restless, getting up and doing some walking is very helpful. Or if you're just so tired you're falling asleep, standing up and walking is very helpful too. Typically on meditation retreats, there'll be a lot of sitting and a lot of walking. And a lot of the walking times are kind of free form, so you can do whatever you like, go outside, which is a little bit more informal, can be. Um, I like to walk around my block at home, and I think people must say, what's that old guy doing just walking around the block so slowly? I could say, well, I'm exploring my mind. So it's a really good practice, so I encourage you to try it and use it. Maybe in the coming week, I think it would be wise to say, I'm going to do walking meditation 5 or 10 minutes, let's say, just to get used to it if you're not, it's not been a part of your practice. Sometimes I'll do my sitting meditation in the morning, and then in the afternoon I'll try to do some walking meditation. But I think it would be valuable to structure a time to do some walking. I think that is even more important than the body scan, but they're all valuable. You pick what you like, but try it.
I like to walk at Ledgeview on the paths there,
Mhm.
and I've got a fairly long circuit, but I've noticed and I've learned that the walking meditation has to happen during certain parts of that, because other parts are too rough or too unpredictable, and I have to pay attention so I don't fall. But then other parts are smooth and even, and that's very good for that. And it's come to the point where I've done it so often now that I know where those points are just kind of automatically.
That's a whole different kind of attention when you're having to pay attention to the irregularities of the
Right.
path.
But the rewards of being out in nature, I think, make up for that.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
We live next to a labyrinth, and that's a really lovely way to practice walking meditation, because you don't have to make any decisions about where you're going. You're going around and around and around, and then you're going back out.
Mhm.
But one thing I struggle with that, and even here, my neck gets very sore because I'm holding, I want to keep my gaze downward, because if I look up, I'm inevitably going to be distracted. But finding a place where I can be seeing where I'm stepping, but also not keeping my head so heavy is a challenge. And the other thing I noticed here tonight, I have been dealing a lot with some foot issues, and having no shoes on for the walking meditation really made me pay attention to all of the bones, and from the heel to the arch to every part, and I could see where in my foot I was changing my step for the pain, and able to focus on that, whereas in a shoe you don't pay attention to that as much because there's so much support, and your foot doesn't spread out as much. So that was really interesting to me tonight.
Good. So another kind of mindfulness of body is eating. On retreats I've been at, we often have an hour for a meal, which is done in silence. You've got plenty of time, so you can just sit there and notice each bite. So, this is a wonderful opportunity, especially if you eat some meals alone. And you say, why should I rush through this meal, right? Because I tend to rush through, and I don't have anything to do, but it's a habit. I'm so used to rushing through because, life is busy. You have to get to work and take care of the kids and all that stuff. But if there are times when you don't have to rush and you can just pay attention to each bite, each movement, it is really rewarding. A very simple meal without a lot of flavor can be very rewarding. It's like a feast because you're just paying attention with your vision to what it looks like, to the motions of your hands, to the taste, to the memories that come up. Oh, I remember this. Oh, yeah, and then you come back. Just paying attention to eating is very pleasant. Usually, sometimes you're eating something you don't like and you notice that. So there's an eating meditation practice that's often done with one raisin, where the teacher will give you a raisin and you focus on what it's like to eat a raisin, which is kind of interesting. But over the last couple of years, in honor of my wife Jan, I've been using M&Ms, which are a little more interesting. Is anybody allergic to peanuts? No? Well, I got this box of M&M's Classic Milk Mix, which has milk chocolate, peanut butter, and peanut. And when I opened it, I was hoping that if somebody was allergic to peanuts, I would have some that are that have no peanuts in them. But it's really hard to tell if one has peanut butter, peanuts. I think the little ones don't have. So I'll give you one and see what happens, okay?
You have your EpiPen,
So I want you to hold out your hand and allow me to place an M&M, one M&M in your hand. Do nothing with it until I talk with you about it, all right? Just hold it there. You can look at it.
It's like a
Close
kid
your
in a
eyes.
I was
candy
just gonna
store.
say, we should be kids, can we touch it?
Maybe yes, you can touch it, but I will have
M&Ms make
further
friends.
instructions.
Remember that?
They melt in your mouth, not in your hand, right? So feel the weight of it. That's one thing you can do right now. And notice the colors.
I was hoping you'd give me green. I was actually thinking about it when he got it.
I'm trying to pick out the biggest ones.
Can't trade.
No trade. And after class, you can have more. So we'll start off by just holding it and feeling it in the hand. Maybe rolling it around a little bit, noticing what it feels like. Feel the weight of it and notice its shape and color. Notice where the light shines on it. Is there printing on it? Just looking at it, feeling it in the hand. And come back to the breath now and then. Notice the breath. Notice the urge to eat it, to move on to the next thing. And just breathe and notice what it's like. Okay, you can use your fingers to roll it around and notice how it feels in your fingers. Touching it, notice the sensation. Is it firm, hard, soft, smooth, rough? Regular, irregular. Just noticing what it feels like. You don't even have to use any words, but just noticing what it feels like in the hand. Let's put it up to our nose and notice if there are smells. Notice if you do smell something, notice how do you judge that? Is it pleasant or unpleasant? Now, notice the movement, the sensation of just moving it and placing it on your tongue. Roll it around in your mouth. Notice how it clicks against your teeth. Notice that I'm salivating. Maybe begin to notice some flavor from the outside. Maybe begin to notice it's melting and notice that sensation. Just being patient with it, noticing it. And when you're ready, you maybe begin to crush it. Notice what's inside. Notice the shell, what that feels like as it separates, and notice the chocolate. Notice if you got a peanut or peanut butter. Notice how you begin to swallow it. It's going down so easily, or maybe not. Inviting it. Chewing it. Notice the sound. Swallowing it. Notice the sensation as that you're done eating it. Licking my lips. Just sitting with that sensation of having eaten an M&M. Maybe notice how you feel about doing this activity. Just slowing down makes us mindful. Just reminding ourselves, what is the rush right now? No rush, just being with this experience right now. Questions or comments about eating or about M&Ms?
It was the best M&M I've ever had.
I thought for sure mine was all chocolate,
Uh-huh.
but it wasn't. You know, it was the peanut butter in there.
Peanut butter, okay. Who else had peanut butter? Who had peanuts? Everyone else. That was my aim, to make it peanuts. I'm sorry, you get an extra one.
And in the beginning, I just couldn't wait. I was very excited to
Yeah.
eat the M&M. Like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to pop it in my mouth.
Uh-huh.
And then once it was actually in my mouth, I just wanted it to last.
Uh-huh.
I wanted to slow down a little.
Uh-huh.
And smelling it made me think of my pumpkin from Halloween trick-or-treating, like the way that smelled. It was full of
The process of tasting it and going through the steps of really paying attention to each sensation reminded me of when I make soup. Because when I make soup, I'm always tasting it. And that is a very focused kind of thing. I'm looking for different flavors, different ingredients, and that kind of thing. And, you know, that was kind of like this.
total opposite of that. Because I didn't have the patience to wait and taste it. I chomped it.
Did you? Yeah? Thanks for
I'm not-
admitting that.
I couldn't savor that at all. But sitting here and meditating and the walking, like I can so concentrate on those two things, because if I do one more thing, I feel like I can't concentrate, but the breathing and the walking are just sitting, it feels like all the yuck goes out of the body. It just feels like it pours out when I focus on those two ways. Not eating though.
Not eating.
Yeah.
You have to practice maybe.
Yes.
One of the errant thoughts was, what is the weight of the whole bag?
You know, I wanted to slow down. It's like, oh no, I'm not in a hurry yet. I don't know.
Maybe if it's different foods, because I'm not a dessert person. I don't eat dessert and I don't eat chocolate.
Okay, there
So
you go.
maybe it's a different food
Yeah,
that I
maybe
need
the
to.
raisin would have been better.
No, I don't know. Let's say no.
We did it with a tangerine in one of my classes, which was really interesting. Like we put it to our lips, and
Yeah.
we just took a bite to let the, and just.
I was thinking more like steak.
You do it with anything.
Yeah, good.
I did this thing one time at my wife's daycare, and the kids were small. They were 3 and 4 year olds. And at that time, I was finishing up my dissertation on Florida citrus, and so I was really focused on citrus. So she wanted me to come in and do a little thing for the kids. And I bought all different kinds of citrus, and I cut them up. And then we went through what color are they, what are the shapes, and then what it tastes like. And I think that meant that I would have yes for my proposal.
Good job.
But it was a big hit, and the kids really got into the sensations.
Uh-huh. So another thing to try. So being aware of what's happening in the moment, mindfulness, becoming aware of what's in the moment in our mind. So next week, we're gonna focus more on the mind, what's going on there. Mindfulness of thoughts and emotions. But we keep coming back to the body and the breath. Those are our foundations. So I hope you find some of these practices valuable. So for next week, read week 3 in the book, which will take you up to page 143. Is entitled Mindfulness and Emotions. And that's what we're going to work on next week, which is, to me, the most important lesson. We'll work on that. Once again, try to have a daily practice. If you've been doing it for 10 minutes, see if you can extend it. If you've been doing it 3 days a week, try to do it 5. My advice is set a goal to do it every day. And if you miss a day or 2, it's okay. I missed this morning. First time in a long, long time. Stuff was going on. I meditated for only 12 minutes, but I guess I didn't completely miss it. Find that place and time and posture that works for you, and try to do it every day. The longer, the better.
I'm curious how you handled that. How did that feel, and did it change your day? I mean, you've been saying that this has been a long time practice of yours, so was that a big shift today?
Well, yeah, I felt more restless. I When I notice, when I do remember that didn't have that chance, I say to myself, I'm going to try to be mindful of each moment during the day more often, which is helpful. What happens to me with my morning meditation is insights and thoughts come up all the time. Well, I didn't have any today. I was kind of quiet. Nothing, I was just kind of resting in what was going on. So I like it better when I have these things. Oh, I noticed this. And oh, I know what I can teach in this class. So it was different, yeah. It really changes your day. Have you noticed that on the days that you do take that time to meditate, that there's a difference from the days when you miss it? Yeah. Of course, the day's still young. No handouts today. I'll put some M&Ms here in the bowl and help yourself. Or here. There's a couple of on the floor, so people can grab them when we're done. But we're gonna sit with a brief sitting meditation and stay as long as you like to talk. See what it sounds like with M&Ms in the bowl.
It'll taste better.
Notice our posture sitting. Breathing in and breathing out. Noticing thoughts as they come up, letting it go and coming back to the breath. Thanks for your practice.
Thank you.
Pass that around.
I'm good. Oh, that's right, you're not.
He's holding up her stick for a T-bone.
Okay.
I think this one might have a peanut.
Well, I think I got one.
Okay.
That's peanut butter one there.
Okay.
Handouts for me.
Pardon?
Handouts.
Handouts.
From
Good-
last week.
Good memory.